You know the feeling, that little tickle in your throat, the stuffy nose, and that frustrating cycle of seasonal colds and allergies that just seems to knock you flat. It's something we all go through, but what if there's more to it than just grabbing the usual box of tissues? Take a look at this number, $20 billion. That is the estimated price tag every single year for workdays lost just because of the common cold. And that's in the United States alone. We're talking over 150 million missed workdays. It's a huge sign of just how disruptive these everyday illnesses really are. So it really makes you wonder, right? We're so used to just managing symptoms as they pop up, but are there other ways to think about this? Could some older traditions actually offer a different angle? One that's more focused on building up our body's own defenses from the start? And that's where something like Ayurveda comes into the picture. It's a traditional system of medicine from India, and its whole philosophy is less about just chasing symptoms and more about building your body's resilience. The goal is to work holistically to boost our natural immunity before problems even get a foothold. Now, from this tradition, we're going to zoom in on two specific herbal formulas today. Brussel, which is geared toward allergic respiratory issues, and Septolin, which is all about building up your resistance to infection. So what's the big idea behind how they're supposed to work? Well, the key concept is this big word, immunomodulation. But don't let it scare you. It's not about replacing what your immune system does. It's about enhancing it. Think of it like tuning up an engine or an instrument. The whole point is to help your body's own defenses run more smoothly and respond better. Okay, so what's actually in these formulas? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the key herbal ingredients that are said to give them these effects. First up, we've got Bramersol. Its ingredients work together like a team. You have Haridra, which you probably know better as turmeric. Its active compound, curcumin, is believed to block a protein that's a key player in allergies. Then you've got Tulasi, or holy basil, which is known for having some powerful antihistamine properties. And finally, there's Vasa, which basically helps thin out and loosen mucus, helping to clear up congestion. Now, let's look at Septolin. The focus here is more on building up that general resistance. It has Gugulu, or Indian bdellium, which is known for its anti-inflammatory effects. Then there's Yashtimadu, or licorice, which has been shown to give a boost to our macrophages. Those are the white blood cells that act like the cleanup crew, gobbling up invaders. And Guduchi is a powerful antimicrobial that helps ramp up antibody levels. So, okay, that's the traditional side of the story. But what happens when you put these ancient herbs under a modern scientific microscope? Let's dive into how researchers are figuring out the mechanics behind all this. And this is where things get really fascinating. This slide perfectly connects two different worlds. On the left, you have the traditional Ayurvedic claims for Brizol, and on the right, the scientific mechanisms that were actually published in a study on PubMed. Researchers found that Brizol seems to work by blocking a specific gene, which then dials down key inflammatory molecules. It also raises the levels of a cellular messenger called CAMP, which basically tells the body to calm down its allergic response. So let's just walk through that proposed pathway real quick. By blocking that one gene, it kicks off a chain reaction. CMP levels go up, which helps fine-tune the immune response, and the end result is that the body produces fewer of the molecules that cause all that inflammation. It's a pretty amazing peek into the potential mechanics at the molecular level. The research on Septolin points in a very similar direction. This chart shows data from clinical trials looking at immunoglobulins. You can think of these as the soldiers of our immune system. After treatment with Septolin, you can see a statistically significant jump in IgG, IgA, and IgM. This suggests a real strengthening of the body's defense forces, which backs up those immunomodulatory claims. Okay, so what's happening at the cellular level is cool, but what does that actually mean for real people? This is where we need to look at the broader clinical evidence. So let's check out the results from a huge meta-analysis that was done on Septolin. And I mean it when I say huge. This wasn't some small study. They pulled the data from 38 different clinical trials that spanned more than 4 decades, from 1958 all the way to 2001. All told, they analyzed the results for almost 2,800 patients, which gives their findings some serious statistical power. So what was the verdict? Well, for patients who had upper respiratory tract infections, a full 75%, that's 3 out of every 4 people, responded positively to the Septolin therapy. That's a really strong clinical outcome for the vast majority of people in these trials. But what's even more telling is when you see the direct comparison. In the trials where Septolin went head-to-head with other drugs, like antiallergics and antibiotics, the improvement rate was way higher for the Septylin group. We're talking over 74% improved compared to just under 53% for the other group. And then, of course, there's the safety question. And this slide is pretty stark. The side effects reported for Septylin were tiny. Less than 0.5% of people reported mild issues, like some stomach upset. Now compare that to the other drug group, where 18%, almost 1 in 5, reported drowsiness and sedation. The difference in the side effect profile is just massive. So what all of this really points to is this amazing trend, the integration of this traditional knowledge with the really strict standards of modern science. Let's see how that applies to things like quality and validation. For example, the company that makes these formulas has an ISO 9001-2000 certification. Now, that's not just a fancy piece of paper, it is a global standard for quality. It covers everything from research and development to manufacturing and quality control, making sure everything is consistent and safe. And this brings us right back to the science. The final conclusion of that massive meta-analysis we talked about really says it all. It found, and I'm quoting here, significant clinical improvement and confirmed that adverse events were negligible, at less than 1%. It's a pretty powerful summary of decades of research. So, as we wrap all this up, we've seen a traditional approach that's being backed up by some serious modern clinical evidence. And it really leaves us with a final question to think about. Could the future of our respiratory wellness be found not in choosing between ancient wisdom and modern proof, but in intelligently combining the best of both worlds?